Last off.
Hello, Stu.
Hello, Anna.
So, welcome to this
Thank you.
amazing group of people. And so, the reason I asked you, hello, yeah. So, the reason I asked you to do this interview is because I've been coaching with you for over 3 years, I think. I don't know exactly, but quite a while now. And I
Wow.
cherish, yeah, I know, time flies.
Hmm.
And I think that half an hour that I have with you weekly, even though sometimes because of choir and life happens and whatever, I tend to reschedule our time quite a bit and I drive you nuts and I understand that. But it's my stew time. My stew time is just, one of my favorite times of the week because
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. I
Feel
love,
the same way.
thank you. Well, life happens and schmutz happens, like you say, and I want to use this time also to encourage people to listen to your weekly podcast, which is, I normally listen to it on my way to work on Monday morning because you normally post it on Sundays, and this is my time to, doesn't matter what happens, if it's a good day or a bad day or whatever, it's my time to actually remind myself that I am enough, that my heart is big enough, that all the people have hearts, and there's always like a good space, a safe space, and a good enough space to feel safe and loved. And it's so basic, right? And we forget. And that's, it feels like you all always have the perfect words. And obviously, I tend to think that you have everything figured out. But for me, it's that perfect shelter, that cave where I can always go and find that thing that I was missing. If it's a good day, I can share the good stuff with you, and if it's a bad day, I can find those arms or that heart that creates a space for me to find that love again. So I just wanted to share that with this group because it's smooth time, it's shit time, it's uncertainty and
Really?
fear time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here it is.
So I just wanted to share a little bit of stew with all of them, and I don't think there is need to ask you anything. I think some of you, some of some of you in this group heard Stu at Cairo Chats the other day, and I don't know. It's like 15 minutes of you, and we go, "You have that gift, Stu." So
Bless you. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's been 3 years, so I guess it's okay to tell you now that everything I say is really for me.
I know what you
It just
mean.
it just happens to serve you as well. So I get to be reminded of all the things you think I've got figured out. So I'm happy to hear that I've given you that illusion. No, but the thing is, I think, yes, schmutz happens. And one of the most practical things we can practice in life is coming back to that, coming back to our heart, coming back to, what we at least would be willing to have be true. Even if we can't get all the way to it being truth for us in the moment, at some point or other, we probably profess that we believe it. Just things like chiropractic talks about, things like living from the inside out, which I know is your thing. And things like, these things, like Sid Williams said, are not true sometimes. They're not true when it serves us. They're not only true when it's easy, when everything's going well. They're always true. You drop the keys, they're going to fall, as he showed us many times. It's so, again, one of the most beautiful, important, and practical things we can learn is how to come back to our heart in the face of whatever. Because you know, I don't want to make this sound like somebody's done anything wrong, but if we haven't really practiced that enough up to now, it's probably harder for us right now. And so this is the perfect time. This is, since we don't have all that much else to do. Um, in addition to getting into the best shape of our lives and writing that novel and all the other things we're ourselves right now, maybe we can add one extra little exercise a day that brings us back to our more than enoughness, to our own sense of worthiness and bigness and greatness. And, because they're all there, they're all right there in our heart. As soon as we can bring ourselves there, all of a sudden everything looks different. There's more possibility. It's not just worst case scenario. And we can see that not only for ourselves, but for others. It's one of the hardest things for me in this is staying out of that place of worry for other people. But everybody's just as whole and strong and beautiful and wise and great as I am, that's for sure. And in most cases, probably more so. So this is a great time to explore our own wholeness and also our oneness, because, we're all in this together and we're all going through the same feelings. And every time we bring ourselves back to what is more true, what is more eternal, what is more, can't do a better word than true. I believe we bring everybody with us. So we're not only doing this work for ourselves, we're doing it for each other. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yes, that was good. And in a very practical way, yes, exactly. I was about to ask that. So in this group, we decided to do a little challenge, and I actually challenged them a little bit, and I said, so if during this quarantine we do the morning gratitude exercise and the wins for the day at the end of the day, I committed to give them a little gift at the end of quarantine, because I wanted to push them a little bit. Because I had a gratitude group, a WhatsApp group with patients and people from all over Spain that I don't even know about, but I wanted to double up on the good stuff, right? So I added also the win part at the end of the day.
Nice. So they
And
get two gifts.
Huh?
So then they get two gifts. They get the gift from you and they get the gift of doing it. Yes.
Exactly. So can you suggest a couple more things we can do to go back to our hearts?
Well, I think it's a good time to start, if you haven't already, some kind of heart-based meditation. For so many years, I read or heard that we were supposed to go to our hearts, and then one day I actually discovered that I could take that literally. I mean, going to my heart to me is putting my attention and my focus on my heart and on my breathing. So, my heart and my breathing are things I carry with me, even though I'm not really going anywhere, wherever I go. So the more we practice going to our heart, coming back to our heart. So the meditation that, it's actually a heart meditation, is one I've been practicing every day for years, which involves, and I can send a link to you so you can share it with everybody. It's fine with me. It's a 20-minute guided version of it.
That would be awesome.
And that's what it is. It's about putting our attention on our heart and just kind of sitting there and breathing and bringing our attention back to our heart when we notice it's wandered, which it always does. And of course, the value comes from the actual gentle bringing it back rather than forcing it to stay there. It's another thing we can sort of let go of control of. It's all about coming back. I don't know too many people on this planet, certainly personally, who have ever been able to stay there all the time. I mean, I think their gift was they practiced coming back, so it gets easier. So most of the time now, when I realize I am other than in my heart, it takes one breath, one thought, one moment. But it wasn't always like that. Again, so yeah, practicing something like that. I mean, staying connected with people and not shutting down, being careful about what you let into your consciousness. What your even on Facebook, there's things that are empowering and wonderful going on, like like you're doing. And, however, there is other stuff. And even though sometimes we get caught up in sort of, I think it's, the same difficulty we have passing by a car accident on the road without staring at it. There's something sort of compelling about it, but I think we can overcome that, or at least not do it 24/7. Anyway, doing things that nurture our soul, this is the time to sing and dance.
Oh yeah.
And as I've said lately in the few interviews, I also think we need to be touching as much as we can, even if it's ourselves, and stroking, shampooing. We're all, I think, suffering from a bit of a lack of hugs and touch right now, and yeah, so I will offer everybody here what I offered on the call the other day. That's virtual hugs. If you can't actually physically hug, picture yourself hugging. It's anything. I think we all have a whole list of things that we know can bring us back to our heart, which to me just means back to a state of something resembling joy or peace or compassion or gratitude or love. So, in heart math, in the meditation, they recommend you think about somebody you love unconditionally. And it's usually a pet, because you usually have at least one issue with just about everybody else. So, yeah, a baby, just something that you think about and immediately brings a smile or brings a lift, makes you feel more alive. Let's use the power of imagination right now. I mean, many of us are using it in ways that are not all that constructive right now, but it's our choice. So it's always a choice, and it's always a matter of just noticing where we're going and where we're hanging out in our own consciousness, and being willing to shift. And the more we do it, and it's like every time we do it, it's like we're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, and it just gets easier to find.
I think that's the biggest myth is like, I had a talk with Brian, my other mentor, in the morning, and he was like, we overestimate what we can do in 3 months, but we underestimate what we can do in 5 years. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to start meditating, and suddenly you put yourself, it's like, I'm going to do 2 hours a day, because it's quarantine time. Instead of like, every time I'm in anxiety or I'm pissed, how about you just put your hand in your heart and say, I'm just going to breathe through my hand. Like a small tip, and in 2 minutes, you're like, that's the only thing I'm going to do. You don't have to become the Dalai Lama in one
Mm-hmm.
day. It's like that little, it's like, okay, just take a deep breath in, and then it becomes easier. And then you have tools like the heart math. I have the heart math thing for my cell phone. And it's like, it's amazing how, like, I can recognize, I don't have to use the app anymore, but I can recognize when I am in high coherence.
Coherence.
Because
Sure.
you recognize the feeling. But at the beginning, I was telling the group yesterday in a call that, and I put the thing once when I knew I had a seizure coming, and I told my friends, like, a seizure's coming, let's measure that. I was playing with the thing. But then you recognize the feeling is like, and it's just like small tips, like literally, like you said, just use your hand and use your heart and just put the thing, just imagine the
Mm-hmm.
air coming through your hand and letting it all out. Because, I mean, if you have never sat down and meditated, how much discipline do you need to suddenly sit down for 2 hours every day?
Mm.
I'm the first one that's not going to do it.
It's more discipline than I've ever had, but
I'm not going to do it. But
yes, some is better than none. Let's
yeah,
establish that as our mantra. Some is better than none. Yes, I think I
and
don't think we necessarily set ourselves up for success when we have these expectations, or we compare ourselves to what we think other people are doing or whatever. Yes, that's why I'm suggesting maybe 10 extra minutes a day doing something like this, or yeah, start off small. I think you're right, and you'll recognize the feeling, and you'll recognize the feeling of being in your heart, and I think you'll probably prefer that, and it might motivate people to do more if they want to do more.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
the Dalai Lama didn't. Well, I guess the Dalai Lama was born the Dalai Lama. Bad example. Sorry, but
then,
still think he probably had to work it. Yeah.
one more thing I wanted to ask you.
Mhm.
It's like I shared with them the values exercise. The first part, finding out the people.
All right, because I didn't make it up, so it's okay.
Yes, I said I'd learn it from you just in case it was copyrighted. So it's like sit down, just write down a list of people you admire, write the qualities why, and then the next week I said like the 5 to 8 most repeated values. Can you share with us why those values are so important? First, like sometimes those values are a little bit surprising. And when I did the exercise, I talked to you about it. It's like, why? Like, what? Maybe I don't see that in me just yet. And then, so that's the first question. And the second one is, why is that so important?
I think it's the ones that you say what about are really the ones. I won't say they're the most important, but they might be the ones we want to practice showing up as, because they are. They are part of who we are, what we are, and they are parts that we haven't either learned to see or access or acknowledge. But again, if we recognize that quality in others and it makes us come alive, then it's a sure sign we have a receptor site for that in our own heart and our own consciousness. So it's important because I believe that list is who we came here to be. It's
That sentence. Oh,
express our wholeness in its most beautiful, unique way, and it's such a beautiful set of criteria, really, by which to make choices. And yeah, so this is, I mean, to have that card right now, it's been a great gift for me. Because you can come back to it. It's another thing to come back to. In fact, it's a GPS system to get you back in your heart. It is. So as soon as I'm back on my card, as soon as I'm expressing one of those values, I am in my heart. I am at least in some contact with my strengths and my resources and my wholeness. So yeah, the card is a tremendous ally right now. So
yeah. Yeah, because at a time of tough choices and and time where we have to find strength in a moment of uncertainty, and it's like the rock is probably the only place where we actually stand like completely solid. And it's like what would a person standing in that solid values, those solid
yeah,
values look like, and what would it do? It's like, okay, so suddenly maybe I'm not afraid of calling this person or doing this or having this tough conversation with the team or maybe with the spouse because I just fought during lockdown or whatever. It's like, because this is important for me and I need to do
beautiful.
it.
I like that in there. It's like instead of saying what would Jesus do, or in my case, what would Brenna do? That's my dog. We guess what would I do if I was aware of my wholeness right now? That's really one of the beautiful things at the card. So thank you for putting it that way. Yes, it's and when we do right now, we don't have much criteria to go by, but to make choices because it's so unknown. So I've always thought our values were the best way, the best criteria on which to make choices. So now it's kind of all we have. So it's good. It's good, because the more we make choices based on our values, the more our values will be with us after we make the choice to support us in that choice, to make the choice work. And, in my experience, which is maybe a little more than most, um, just because I'm older. I mean, um,
No, but it's I don't know if
best
I
way to
heard.
make choices because yeah, when I make choices based on anything else, it's just they tend to be fragmented or weakened. I don't have my resources behind it. And
And
to me,
even if you make a mistake, it's like, I don't know why, like what's going to happen from this choice. And I might made a mistake, but at least I made it based on this. And I accept that I could be wrong, but I did what I thought I had to do, and nobody can take that from me.
Yeah, and and I use it more for sort of deciding what the next step is, and I try to let go of the ultimate goal because how many times I've started in a direction based on my values, and it kind of ended up getting veered off in what I thought was a different direction, but it was it worked out the way it needed to. So let's let go of our choices, seeing our choices maybe to the end point, because it's another thing we don't know. But again, if we make each choice one choice at a time, the best we can based on those values, then and again, yeah, we're going to be whole as we face whatever the consequences of that choice are, and we're going to be much more likely to use whatever happens to make the choice work. It's usually what it's about. I don't necessarily believe in right or wrong choices anymore. I believe in choices and consequences, and I just want to be whole when those consequences come. I believe the consequences are going to be more to serve me if I do choose based on my values. But again, that's all I know is I'm going to be able to respond more of the way I came here to respond
Ooh.
if I choose based on values. So I'm glad you shared that exercise. It's great.
And the last thing, and I shared it with my patients in the Together platform, is about, and you just share the word again, choice. And you did it with the Cairo chats and your talk. Why did I choose to leave this situation? You did it in the meditation seminar, or in the meditation talk, and then you said it again in the Cairo chats. I'm gonna ask you to, do it again, because it has been so powerful for me.
I'm asking folks to write down this, again, hypothetical. Let's assume for 1 second, and we don't have to even think about why. I created this situation, meaning you created this situation. Why did I do that? In other words, like Eckhart Tolle said, approach the present moment as if I had chosen it, because that's going to help us feel empowered to respond in some way that's beneficial for us and for the world. So what's the gain here? What if you had created this, why? What did you hope to gain by it? And if you never thought about it this way, then you can think about it now, because that gives us a clearer idea of what we can focus on right now, and also what we can bring forward in the future when things get a little easier and schmutz is not flying around so quickly. That kind of work, because that's going to point out to us what's important to us, and what, again, it's about focusing on the gain and not the distance between where we are right now and how we wish things were, because that just disempowers us. That just makes us feel like victim. It doesn't motivate us to put in the extra 10 minutes of meditation. It makes us sit on the couch and watch Netflix, which is fun too. So yeah, I think it's a tremendously valuable exercise.
And not coming from guilt, but from empowering. It's not like,
Don't tell me
it's
you
not my
created.
fault. No, it's
Sorry,
not
because
like,
you put everybody in such a horrible situation, and I wish I'd never done it.
no, it's not guilt. It's like, so no, it's
we all we
self-responsibility.
all stand to gain from this, and it's hard to see that right now. But yeah, and in fact, I would encourage you to not only write down reasons why you chose this for you, but for the world. What's the gain for the world here? What's the gain for chiropractic here? You start thinking that way, it's going to be much more likely that these things actually come about. It is a choice. Even though we don't have control over much right now, we still have control over the one thing that really matters, and that's how we show up here and how we respond. So I think this exercise can help us get a clearer picture of how we might want to use this time. Yeah. So I don't think you created this to write that novel. Maybe you did. You can put that on there, or to get in the best shape of your life. If you did, then you're probably exercising a lot right now. But, I don't think we created this to should on ourselves even more. So let's make some reasonable intentions and keep coming back to our heart.
I love it.
Yeah, fun.
Thank you so much, Stu.
Bless you. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
you. And the best part is that I always love myself more after talking to you.
Well,
That's so beautiful.
thank you. Well, I'll
Thank
see you
you.
tomorrow.
Yes, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Much love to all, and a virtual hug to all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.